Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter. Get the value you need and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here at USA Global TV and radio. Our show today is fashion, travel, and fitness, and we're going to be focusing on the travel aspect of it. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network. We've got a fabulous guest who is actually one of our expert correspondents. I'm always so happy when she comes back to see us. Before we bring her out, let's welcome the star of our show, DIANN FLOYD BOEHM, international award-winning author. Hello, DIANN.
Hi, Dr. JACALYN. So great to see you. And I love our new day.
Yes, that's right. Thank you for mentioning that this is a new day and new time. So please do mark your calendar for this. We were having some challenges with the other day and time, and I think this is going to be much better. So we welcome people to join us as guests. Go over to our website, usaglobaltv.com, book your session, fashion, travel, and fitness. Okay, so DIANN, you love to travel. You're a world traveler. Tell us about some of the places that are on your bucket list to go to, and then we'll bring out our guest.
Well, it's interesting that you stated that, because our guest has once talked about this trip through the Rocky Mountains, which she can elaborate again if she wishes. But that is definitely on my bucket list. Ever since she talked about it, I've always wanted to do it. And we met for the first time in person, as you know, and I had to talk about it. So I also want to hear more about, I'll be interested if she's has things that would be fun to do for the holidays. I recently learned that in Alaska, they have an actual Christmas town. So I thought she might have some fun ideas for that, unless we're holding back till November. So I don't know. But anyway, that's it so far.
We don't know. We don't know what Sandy's going to be telling us, but I have to say this. The shows that we've done before with Sandy Adams have always gotten really great reviews, lots of follows, because Sandy is an expert. She is the person you want to contact when you're thinking about traveling. Why take on all that burden yourself? Plus, you don't know what's going on in the foreign country. You don't know what the latest COVID protocols are or any other protocols that might come up. You want to call Sandy Adams, travel advisor with Cruise Planners. Let's welcome her back to the show. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
It's great to see you.
So, yeah, I'm very excited to be back. So,
Sandy, when I was going through our YouTube channel, I think that you were here last in June. Is that right?
I think you're right. Yep, it's been a few months. It sure has.
So what have you been up to since we've last seen you?
Well, I have been super busy. People are absolutely ready to travel. And what I'm finding is people are waiting until just before they're ready to go. In fact, I'm working with a client who is hoping to do a quick getaway with his family in November. And so a lot of these really short notice, quick turnaround kind of trips. And then we have people that are already looking ahead to 2023. And later on, we'll talk a little bit about places to go in 2023. But with things opening up more, and particularly with the cruise lines, they have scaled back their health and safety protocols. And so it's really opened up the aperture for more people to get out and travel.
That is good news, isn't it?
So it is.
I think so many people are really antsy to get away and go someplace and do something. And Sandy, for people who haven't tuned in before, I know it seems hard to believe, but we're always getting new people, whether it's on the radio or podcast platform or TV. They're not familiar with what a travel advisor actually does. Can you share with them, how do you help people when they're planning their trip, or maybe after they've come back planning for the next trip? What does that look like?
One of the things that I do to start with is I sit down and talk with my client and kind of sort through what it is they're interested in, where they want to go, the mode of travel, because you can travel via rail. As Diane mentioned earlier, you can travel via air, you can travel via ship, travel via bus. So I kind of get those down and get a real good feeling for how they have traveled in the past and what they're looking for to do. And then from there, I do all the planning, and I put together options. I provide those options to the client. We discuss them. And then once they make a decision, I take care of getting the payments made for them. If we need to add excursions or extra hotels, I can help with flights as well. All of the planning is what I do, because my philosophy is that I just want my clients to be able to pack and go on their trip and not have to worry about all the details. I take care of all of those for them. I also do not charge fees. I get paid after my clients travel. And so that's why it's really important to me to develop a relationship with them up front, because I share my knowledge, I share options and things like that. And so I want people to book through me so that I can make sure that they have an amazing trip. I get paid after my clients travel by a commission from whichever travel vendor, supplier, cruise line that we use. And then when they get back, I like to check in with them, find out how their trip was, get feedback, and of course, start talking about the next trip.
Thanks so much for your transparency in how you get paid. I think that really is wonderful that you share that. Diane, I can't hear you.
I forgot I put it on mute. Sorry. In the past, my husband loves to plan trips and everything, but shh, don't tell him. The best trips were the ones with a travel advisor. So, Sandy, you'll be hearing from us.
Yay!
I love that. And, Sandy, you and I have talked about this before. I was in the event management space for, I think, 18 plus years. And one of the things that comes up, especially for corporate travel, but it also applies to individual travel, is what we don't know that can happen, and how do we respond, and having someone like you available, that we're out of the country or we're away somewhere and something happens and we don't know how to deal with it. We can reach out to you, and you can help reroute, or you can help provide information that we might not have access to ourselves. Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you brought that up. One of the services that I provide is that I'm available 24 hours for my clients when they're traveling, because as we know, things happen, and flights are, canceled, or connections aren't made. And so I'm there to assist them with that. And, earlier this summer, I had a lot of people traveling, and there were a lot of moving parts. And those were just some of the things that happened. I'm the person that they reach out to for those things. And that's what, your travel advisor is there for, because, we often have the contacts, and we can assist with whatever's needed. The other really important thing that I think is good to bring up in terms of things happen is the importance of getting travel protection or travel insurance. I cannot emphasize that enough. Before I was a travel advisor, couple of things happened during the course of my travels, and really needed to have that travel insurance because, you don't know what happens. And in one case, there was a family medical situation, and we had to return from Europe. And so we missed our cruise. We had to pay extra for our flights. And with having travel insurance, I had the peace of mind that all of that stuff would come together, and that, I would get reimbursed for my out-of-pocket expenses. And so that is really, I can't emphasize that enough. And I'm sure some of my clients get annoyed because there are people who choose not to get insurance, and I'm bugging them all the way up until the time that they travel, because I just think it's that important that you have that protection.
I have to agree with you, Sandy. And I thought about you
Yes.
when I was booking my mom and my flight back to Florida. I got the travel insurance, and of course I got sick and I couldn't travel. So I was able to go ahead and make that request. So thank you for sharing that. I listened to what you had to say.
Yeah, that's kind of my big foot stomper when it comes to travel. I mean, traveling is an investment. When people book a trip, just when you open the show, you ask DIANN what were those things on their bucket list. And so generally when people are traveling, they're going to some place that's really important to them, and they're investing in that trip. And so I think it's just important that, you also invest in that little bit of travel protection, that protects your trip.
Yeah, fantastic. So when we think about 2023, we have a team member who is traveling all the time. She's a certified international facialist, and she's always at some really cool island somewhere. She sends pictures, and I'm like, what's amazing. Like, you have just this kind of like home almost that seems like it's in the middle of the ocean by itself. It's amazing. So on the places to go for 2023, are there any islands, for example?
Actually, there are. There's a few different islands, and I pulled this list from Foodors, who is one of our partners, and one of the big ones on the list is Tahiti, and that's one of the places that's on my list. I would love to visit there. Additionally, Fiji is on there, and the islands that fascinate me the most are the Galapagos. Is another hot place for 2023. And so those are just the island places. And some of the other places that are on the list going into 2023 are Alaska. For those of you who follow the travel sector, Alaska lost about a season and a half of their summer travel season. And so people are still, trying to get those trips, that they had to postpone, not 1 year, but 2 years in some cases. So Alaska is still a very hot place to go, even though it's a little cool. And there's a couple of different ways to do it. And not everyone's aware of this as well. You often hear the emphasis on cruising to Alaska, which is absolutely beautiful. But there are also all kinds of land opportunities that we can put together for our clients, both escorted tours and more going on your own. We had some clients this summer who are really into bears. And so we were able to set up some bear excursions for them, and got to see some other things in Alaska, and they had a fabulous time. So Alaska is very popular. Our national parks are very popular as well. And then if you're looking to head towards Europe, the French Riviera has got a lot going on, and it's a beautiful area. The Scottish Highlands, if you want it a little bit cooler in the summertime. And Greece also is one of the places that people are looking at again for 2023. And then lastly, to move to one other continent is safaris. And Kenya has lots of opportunities there to do safaris and to really engage in the culture there. So those are the places that are looking really hot for 2023.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I mean, like, why can't you get paid for just traveling? Because there's so many great places you named.
Well, you can if you become a travel advisor.
Oh, there you go.
Sandy, I'm wondering for 2023 if there's recommendations based on someone being a single or a couple or a family. Does it matter?
It doesn't matter. And I do want to address the single issue, not issue, but a lot of people travel on their own. And I'm seeing more and more companies begin to offer things that are for single travelers. So one in particular that comes to mind is Celebrity Cruises. On their Apex and Beyond, those are their two newest ships, they actually have single cabins. Whereas typically on a cruise, if you're in a cabin on your own, you're basically paying 200%. You're paying for the whole cabin as if somebody else is in the cabin. Whereas these single cabins are being priced differently and less than for a double occupancy cabin. I'm also seeing more and more reductions in what are called single supplements. Again, when people travel on their own, because everything is generally priced as double occupancy, there's usually a percentage that is added when there's a single. So I'm seeing those come down, and I'm also seeing special sales for those as well. And in some cases, those single supplements are being waived. So I do have a few single clients, and I'm always looking for cool opportunities for them to be able to travel and and not having to pay as if there was somebody else going along with them. So lots of opportunities for that. Family travel, particularly multi-generational travel, has become really big, and I'm finding that a couple are not only taking their children along, but they're also bringing their parents along. And so there's I work with them to find the right matches so that there's plenty to do for everybody. And that I feel is really important. The other thing that I'm starting to see an uptick in is group travel. And I think some of that has to do with us coming out of the pandemic and people not having had a chance to really be together for almost 2 years. And so they want to get together and they want to go travel somewhere together. And they just want to celebrate life, celebrate being friends, celebrate being a family. So those are also very popular. And there's lots of opportunities on both land and sea to accommodate, all three of those categories.
Great news. Whether you want to travel by yourself or with your whole family, your extended family, there's something for everyone.
Absolutely. I have a question for you. I'm really glad, Dr. JACALYN, you brought up the single family. What about, are there special things for senior citizens by chance?
So I would say yes, there are. There are certain things that appeal to them, and they might be open to everybody, but there are some cruises and educational tours and things like that tend to appeal to older people. You'll also find that with river cruising, again, it tends to be an older demographic, and I think part of that has to do with oftentimes a river cruise is a little bit longer, and people who are older, they have a little more time on their hands, so they're able to do some of these longer trips. So you'll find that on longer itineraries, that again, those tend to skew um, to an older demographic. So of course, there's plenty of opportunities. And then there's a lot of people that are an older demographic, and they're young at heart. And so they're out there on a Disney cruise, or they're out on, Virgin, or they're visiting Disney or going through the national parks. So we can find beautiful places for people to travel, regardless of their demographics and, how much they're willing to spend. I just want people to be able to get out and enjoy life. And if I can help them do that with as little as stress as possible, that's what I'm all about.
I love that. Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Sandy. What about, I might be putting you on the spot, but what about people who are adventurers? They're like, oh, I want to do hang gliding and bungee jumping and all kinds of things like that.
That'd be my brother.
So, well, yes. So there's places and ways to do that as well. So I have not, had the opportunity to plan a bungee jumping trip, but there's plenty of places that you go and you can take part in excursions, that do those kinds of things. What I have seen both in land and sea vacations is that they often, even if it's a more organized tour, they'll have different types of excursions available. They'll have, an easy level. They'll have a discovery level, they'll call it, which is maybe an in-between. And then they'll have an adventure level. So, and we'll take probably one of the most popular places to visit, which is Machu Picchu. And you have some people that just want to go and just see it. And then you have some people who want to go and, hike as much of it as they can. And so there's options to be able to do, both of those things. And the same thing you'll see with cruising, both river cruising as well as ocean cruising. There's an entire menu at each port of options to be able to do, from the, easy cultural kinds of things, all the way up to, zip lining, helicopter rides, and those kinds of things. So, yeah, we can do it all.
Fantastic. Now, what about for people like Diane who are exercisers, or people who are like me, or like foodies, and you want a trip where you can eat really well and then work everything off? Are those elements that can be included like that?
So there are wellness trips, but I'm also seeing, particularly on cruise lines, and also some of the hotels that that some of the tour operators are choosing, are having fitness centers. And that is, fitness is an international thing, because when I've been in other countries, I'm, there's a handful of Americans there, and there's 1,000 other people out running, for instance, or working out in the gym, or wherever the case may be. I'm really excited about this next trip I'm going on, because I'm looking forward to working out in the gym. Is this a good time to talk about my trip?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so I'm leaving next week and flying to Rome, and I'll spend a few days in Rome. And then I will be boarding Celebrity Apex. And I am so excited about that, because as I mentioned earlier, it's one of their newest ships. And they have a fabulous running track on the ship. It actually covers 2 decks and goes from basically the front of the ship to the back of the ship. Whereas those of you who are familiar with cruising, if you've ever seen the running track on a cruise, most cruise ships have a little running track that goes around the upper deck above the pool. And you have to go around it like 25 times to, do a couple of miles. And it's very boring. So I'm very excited about that. And they have a fabulous gym on that ship. And so all the weight training, they have treadmills, they have ellipticals. And so I'm very excited about being able to utilize all of that because I'm a big advocate of working out. I work out, 5 days a week at the gym, and on the weekends, I'm always out walking or running. And I want to be able to do that when I travel. So I will be able to do that on this trip. I'm looking forward to taking a run through Rome. It's always fun. I always call these little treks that I do when I'm visiting different countries, my little runs through history, and I take pictures along the way, and that's how I post them on Facebook. And it's just something that I really enjoy. And I feel like that's a great way to see things when you travel. So yes, you can do that. Same thing with food. I'm seeing more and more, that there's healthier things that are being offered, and you don't want to be shy about asking. Just simple things like, do you use cooking oil? Can you use a cooking spray to make your omelets in the morning? Because most of the time they're using butter or oil. You can ask for steamed vegetables with your dinner, even if it doesn't come with it. I mean, that's one of the nice things about being on a cruise ship is that they really try hard to accommodate you. So if you have special, requirements, you just need to let them know, and they will, they will take care of you. And so, if you're avoiding carbs, when they come to drop off the basket of bread, you just say, no, thank you. And so you can, I really feel like you can eat healthy when you're traveling. It's just sometimes you just have to, make known what your requirements and what your needs are.
Thank you so much, Sandy. We do have a comment from our friend Tarek. Thanks for coming back to see us again. I wonder if we could have more vacation days. Wouldn't that be nice? Enjoy, celebrate friends, family, and life. Anything close to the Mediterranean Sea or the South Side, Morocco, Tunisia, Italy, Spain. Bonjour tout le monde.
I love almost all those places he's named. Haven't been to some of them.
Any comments, Sandy?
So you can do all those places, probably not all in the same trip. I can't really do anything about the vacation days. I wish I could, but interestingly enough, some of the things that have come out of the pandemic, I've just been kind of following in the news, and I don't know if you guys saw this as well, is that there are some tests that are going on here in the US to look at 4-day work weeks, which would be wonderful because that would be a 3-day weekend every week, which really would give people the opportunity to be able to get out and travel. So there's, all kinds of places that you can go along the Mediterranean. Italy and Spain. One of my favorite places is Majorca. There's Ibiza. They're all along the French Riviera is beautiful. I've been to Morocco, but I haven't been, I wasn't in a water place when I was in Morocco, so I can't really speak to that. In Tunisia, I have not yet visited.
All right, thank you. Diane, anything you want to comment about place? Have you been to any of these places? I think you said you have.
Tunisia and Morocco, definitely, and some places in Spain. Fabulous. The history, love the history, incredible history. And Sandy, I loved what you said, running through history. I think you need to make a book with your pictures running through history. Be a really cool tabletop book.
I have a lot of pictures.
We could travel virtually through your book too.
There you go. Good idea. I think I'm going to talk to this friend of mine who's an author. Maybe she can give me some tips.
Okay. There's two that I can think of right there looking at you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Sandy, question I have for you, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but I used to sell group travel for major, global organizations, and then I got out of that industry and started doing this. But group travel took a hit for a while, and now I hear it's back. Tell us more.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I think that people are really looking to reconnect in person. And, when the three of us were growing up, and we may be the exception to the rules, but we pretty much, all our family was located right around where we were. Today's generations, we're all scattered. I mean, I don't live where I grew up, and I go back to visit, but people have family that live all over the country, and in some cases all over the world. And so I'm seeing an uptick in groups of people that just want to get together and do something together. And there's several really good options for them. Going to an all-inclusive resort is really a great option for a family or friends group. And so is going on a cruise, because there's plenty of things for everybody to do, and they can choose to do them together, or they can split up and do different things. So there's lots of options, yet everybody's together and they can get together, for that dinner. The last couple of groups that I've worked on, that's the one thing that's been really important to them, is that they just want to, really be able to all sit down and have dinner together. There's, and you mentioned that you were in the group travel space, and that is another space where travel, I think, is starting to come back. And there are so many good opportunities for people to do meetings, and have a lot of those things like taken care of, so they don't have to worry about planning every meal and doing all of that. I think there's some advantages, and many companies are taking it and utilizing those, taking care of those opportunities by going to all-inclusive resorts in the Caribbean to do their big meetings, or holding their conferences. Another option is doing meetings at sea. I travel with a group that I've been traveling with for several years before I became a travel advisor, and they've been doing their conventions on a cruise ship for years, because they found that people had some different eating requirements, meeting space was getting expensive, hotels were getting expensive where they had been meeting, and they wanted a warm option. And so cruise ships seem to fit, because if people are on special diets or have special requirements, they can request those things, and then they're not constrained by that. And meeting spaces available, and on top of it, you get to visit some beautiful spaces with people that you work with. So it's kind of a win-win. So I see that segment is going to come back. I think it's coming back kind of slowly, because companies are still trying to just figure out, how they're going to move forward, and how, they're going to meet in the future. But I see that as a growing segment.
Thank you so much, Sandy. Yeah, I have to say, even within my own family, different generations, obviously, and some of the employers are requiring them back to work 5 days a week. Others, they don't have to come in at all. So I think they are still trying to figure out what's what. And I do know that at the end, when I was still in that space with incentive travel, there were many options where people could do buyouts because the younger generations didn't care about what used to be important to me, getting on the stage, accepting the award. Hello, everyone. They don't, that's not that important. They want to do other types of community-based give backs. And so that incentive travel space actually was looking different. I don't know what it looks like today compared to the group meetings.
Yeah, that space is not an area that I've had the opportunity to really work in yet. When I do my networking with the chambers, that's one of the things that I do talk with the local business people about. If they're looking to do that, because a lot of businesses do offer incentive trips and all of that. But I personally haven't worked in that space yet.
All right. Well, thanks for your candor as always.
I didn't even know that cruise ships had meeting spaces. So this was a very interesting discussion for me because I think it'd be fun to have a conference on a cruise ship. So.
Yep. They have meeting space and IT stuff. And they, if you set up one of those, type of things, you work directly with the people on the ship, and on land, the people that coordinate all of that. So, all your requirements should be available for you when you get there. And yeah, I think it's a great way to do it. Kind of keep everybody kind of close, but they have all these options. And that's what I think, is kind of neat about doing it on a cruise ship.
Sandy, I know we're talking about 2023. I'm just wondering, here in the United States, it's October, the holidays are coming. If someone said, hey, I know I'm getting an extra bonus, or I just got to get out of town, any recommendations for last minute travel plans?
Well, there are still some opportunities for cruising, although that's starting to fill up. And cruising tends to be particularly popular over the holidays because you're on the ship and everyone else is doing the work for you. And so it's really a good opportunity for you to relax with family and friends. So there's still some opportunities for that. Another place people don't often think about to go for the holidays is to Alaska. They actually have tourism all year round. And, just like here in the lower 48, we have areas that are super cold and some that are more moderate. That is not completely frozen out in Alaska. So that's a place that's popular. Another place that's popular is Hawaii. And that has, more or less fully opened up over there. So that's a popular place. I think those are the close ones. Some people also look at Disney to go to for the holidays. They are still at Disney having limitations as to the number of people in the park, meaning that once you buy your tickets, you have to actually make a reservation for a park. And there's a map. And that's one of the things I can help people with, especially with short in, travel, because it's important to look at that map to see if there's, actually availability at the park that you want to visit. So that's also another option for the holidays. And they do a beautiful job at Disney as well as Universal for both Halloween, in the fall, and then they roll right into Christmas. So the Christmas at, Disney World and Disneyland, lasts from, pretty much the beginning of November through the first week or so in January. So lots of opportunities to explore those things. And if you don't want to travel very far, in every town, which is what I think is kind of cool, is that there's always just kind of fun little celebrations that happen. One of the things that my husband and I love to do here in the DC area is we love to go to Mount Vernon because they always have wonderful Christmas festivities there. And then we also like to go down and visit the National Christmas Tree in Washington, D.C. And what many people don't know is that there with the National Christmas Tree is also a tree that represents every state in the union. And they have all kinds of neat decorations on them, that are representative of that particular state. And then they have a little bonfire going and all kinds of other little things going on there. So there's always plenty of things near and far to do for the holidays.
Deck the halls and follow along.
That's true. I'm getting excited. I have a question. Sandy, so in Alaska, can you see the northern lights?
So the answer to that question is yes, you can. And there are some times of year that are better than others. But as a travel advisor, that is the one thing I won't do is predict whether or not you will see the northern lights. So because, that all has to do with the weather and, and phenomena like that. So
I just thought it was like crackling colors all night long.
So, well, yeah, but if it's cloudy, then you can't see them, right?
Oh, true. I hadn't thought of that.
So there's some environmental, those kinds of things that play into that. And so I've made it a practice, to tell people, where they might see them. But I can't guarantee that on any given, 3-day or 7-day trip that you're going to see the northern lights.
It's kind of like you're going to go see a polar bear. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. JACALYN.
No, I was just saying you'd have to get Northern Lights insurance.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there's places up in Canada that see them. And I was just reading the other day, and I can't remember where it was, but there was somewhere like in the lower 48. It was just, they were able to see, it was just a thing that happened, and they were able to see them. And I just don't remember where it was. So, cool. There's plenty of opportunities, but you just have to kind of go in with the state of mind that, it could happen and I'm going to watch for it, but don't plan your trip around that, in certain places. There's other places that they're far more likely, to go.
Yeah, it's just like if I was going to go on a trip to meet a man, there's plenty of men. That doesn't mean I'm going to meet one.
Exactly.
Sandy, it's been a pleasure having you back with us. Thank you so much. And Diane, Sandy, I'm going to spotlight you and anything you want to share with our audience as we close out, and also let us know when we can expect to see you again here.
I think the number one thing that I wanted to mention was that now's the time to start thinking about 2023. As I mentioned earlier, there's still a lot of people who are pushing or have booked their trips that they weren't able to do in 2021 and in 22. And so it's earlier the better, for the types of things that you want to do. And, there are oftentimes the ability to get a, refundable deposit depending on the type of travel that you're interested in. And if that's available, I would say earlier the better. Because if you need to cancel before final payment, then you cancel. But if you wait 4 or 5 months, then they might not have, available anymore what you're looking for. So as we're rolling into the holidays, this is always a big time when people start talking about what their plans are going to be for 2023. And so I would encourage you to make sure that your travel plans are a topic of discussion. And I'd love for you to, reach out and talk to me or another travel advisor, because I think that that's the best way to navigate. I am going to be traveling for the next 7 weeks. I'll be the Celebrity Apex I'll be on is a transatlantic cruise, and really looking forward to that. So I'll end up in Florida in November. And then our cruise planners convention is going on. So I'll be there for a couple of days. And as part of that, we're doing a 3-day cruise on Norwegian's newest ship called the Prima, and it is absolutely a game changer. I am so excited about being able to experience that. I've already had a client who's been on it, and she can't stop talking about how much she enjoyed it. So I'm really looking forward to that. Then I'll be back for a week, and then I'm turning around to go back to Europe because for those listeners that heard me talk about this last year, I was supposed to do a river cruise and visit the Christmas markets. And 3 days before we were supposed to leave, that got canceled because of the resurgence of COVID last winter. So really looking forward to that. So I'll be flying to Prague right after Thanksgiving, and then eventually doing a river cruise visiting Christmas markets in Germany and Austria. So very excited about that. And yeah, I would love to get back on the show, and we'll just have to figure out if we can do something maybe remotely while I'm traveling.
Wow, Sandy, this is amazing what you're doing. Wow, have a great time.
Well, thank you. Looking forward to it. So the first trip was my sister's trip. My sister and I do a trip together every year. We've been doing that for about 20 years. And so the river cruise was last year's sister trip. And so we're doing them both this year.
Awesome.
I love it. I live vicariously through you as I'll be behind the screen. So we would love to have you report live if you can as well.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
We'll see if we can figure that out.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Fantastic.
Running through Rome history.
Yeah.
Please
I have a feeling I know where you're running.
I could get one of those GoPro things.
There you go.
Yes.
Camera, and I could be talking and run through London and oh, there's Clarence House. Oh, there's Buckingham Palace.
There you go.
Yeah, I actually have a GoPro, and I would wear it when I was out on my paddleboard. It's pretty cool. I haven't done it in 3 years, but yeah, it's a neat experience. Sandy's phone number is area code 571-297-7676. You can email her Sandy, SANDY .adams, ADAMS at cruise, CRUISE planners, PLANNERS.com. Thank you so much again, Sandy, for being here. We really appreciate it, and safe and happy travels to you.
Okay, thank you. Great seeing the two of you. Take care.
See you too. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Diane, we have to sign off. We have another show coming up right after this. What's the best way for people to buy your books?
Sure. You can purchase it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and your local stores near you. And you can go to my website, DIANNFLOYDBOEHM, and I'll have the list of all my books, as well as my author pages will show up on both Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So it's DIANNFLOYDBOEHM.com, DIANNFLOYDBOEHM.com. Thank you so much, Dr. JACALYN.
Thank you so much, Dianne Floyd BOEHM. And please stay tuned. We have our next show, which is Talking Head, starring Madeline Chan. So do stick around and watch. She's going to help you discover your creative singing voice. So that should be a fun show. All right. Thanks again. We'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.